Strange radio signals and ball lightning, or UFOs. It's time to go home, actually past time. The rainy drizzle and low thunder finally stopped. It is almost dark. Richard and I are finishing a Coke at their kitchen table. His mom gave us the green bottle filled with magical amber liquid to split. Richard pours his half in a glass with no ice and hands the bottle to me. Cokes are a rarity in my house, and I savor every drop. Reluctantly, I finish the last taste. I guess it's time to go. Richard silently nods his assent. As I arise, the electricity goes off, and in the dim light, I hear his youngest brother start to cry, and his mother trying to comfort him. Then a strange sound came from the kitchen. It sounds like a tinny Buddy Holly song. I look around and realize the sound is coming from the electric range. Do you hear that? I ask. Richard nods again. As I ask what he thinks it is, the song ends and I hear the Tommy Jet Show, all the top hits on Jet Fly. I realize it's the local rock station a couple of miles across the valley. WFLI is licensed for 50,000 watts, but its transmitters are old tube-type military surplus and tend to run a bit hot, exceeding the legal broadcast power limits. A few times before, I heard it over our party line phone, and once while picking blackberries on the TVA right-of-way behind our house on a hot day, I heard it singing on the high-tension power lines. Richard says the stove sounds a lot like the crystal radio sets we built for our Scout merit badge. I reach toward the stove. A bright blue streak of static electricity leaps in the darkened room from the stove to my fingertips. I let out a high-pitched screech and jerk my stinging hand away. The sound on the stove abruptly ceases. Richard's mom rushes in to see what the scream is about. I'm embarrassed and tell her that I'm okay. Richard tells her about the radio on the stove. She gives a non-committal shrug and says, "Van, you need to get home. It'll be dark soon and your mother will worry." Richard and I head out the front door into the twilight. Across the valley to the west, the clouds are hanging low and heavy over Elder Mountain. The air is thick and the clouds are an odious and repulsive yellowish green. To the east, the top of Lookout Mountain is hidden in the dense clouds. I think of the ghost of Rebs and Yanks dead a century fighting the battle above the clouds. As I say goodbye, I see 5 glowing bright white orbs have appeared against the dark clouds over Elder Mountain. Their edges are fuzzy and they appear to be pulsating with an almost imperceptible vibration. I gasp in astonishment at the unnatural light. Richard looks up and asks, "What is this?" I do not know. Maybe ball lightning. Suddenly a thin, jagged line of bright light jumps from ball to ball, and they streak across the sky to the north, parallel to the mountaintop, and just as abruptly disappear without a trace, leaving only a fading afterglow in my eyes. I make the 2-mile walk to my house as the dark deepens. I cannot shake the feeling of dread. There are no street lights in the valley, and I jump at the slightest sound in an otherwise eerie quiet. Finally, I reach home. My mother is angry and sends me to my room. I fall into an unsettled sleep, tossing with intermittent nightmares. The next morning, it's raining as I go to school. At recess, I join some friends in the elementary school library. Richard and 4 girls in my class. The library is dark as Richard and I recount our experience with the stove and the balls of light. As we tell the story, shivers run down my spine and hair raises on my arms. It was the end of an era of fears of the unknown, of flying saucers, 40 entails of ball lightning, and the threat of nuclear holocaust. Perhaps the radio signals on the electric stove and the balls of light were nothing, just a meaningless coincidence. But 60 years later, I still feel the uneasiness of the unexplained on that night long ago. Thank you.